Hello there GCSEers, and today we're going to try and answer the question, how do Christians try to reduce poverty worldwide? In our last unit we looked at how Christians respond to poverty locally, and you'll remember food banks and how they actually try to help people in the local community, and indeed Christians in Droitwich try to help the poor of our local community. Now most of us would help our friends and neighbours if they hit upon bad times and problems. But the question of who is my neighbour is one that Christians try to answer. In fact, Jesus was asked the question, who indeed was his neighbour? He was responding to a lawyer who asked him the question, what must I do to get eternal life? And Jesus said, you've got to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and your neighbour as you love yourself. And the man responded back to him and said he'd done all that, but he asked the question, who is my neighbour? To which Jesus responded with the following story, which you may well have heard. It's the story of the Good Samaritan. And he tells us the parable that a man was on his way from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was hit upon by thieves, and he was beaten up and left for dead. Now a priest walked past him and looked at him and walked by on the other side of the road. And a Levite, who was a person from the priestly caste as well, also walked over the road and left him for dead. But a Samaritan, someone from the neighbouring country of Samaria, who the Jews didn't really like, stopped, looked at the man, tended his wounds, put him on his donkey, took him to a local inn, and paid for his recovery. And Jesus says to the man who asked him the question, who acted like a neighbour towards that man? And of course the lawyer said, the Samaritan. And Jesus said, go away and do likewise. Now this has led Christians throughout the centuries to try to help people who they believe are their neighbour. And indeed, it begs the question, who is my neighbour? The answer being, well, everybody is your neighbour, no matter where they're from, even if they're from another country. And people, therefore, Christians have always tried to support people from other countries. Now, of course, today that's going to be less economically developed countries, or however we refer to them in this particular way, LEDCs, as people tend to. Now, we're going to look at an organisation called Christian Aid, who try to help people in as many different countries as they possibly can. And one of their mottos is that they actually try to help people in a number of different ways. You may well have heard this particular statement that goes, give a man a fish and he'll feed his family for a day. Give a man the means to fish and he'll feed his family for a lifetime. And of course you might be thinking, well, of course the second one there, give him the means to fish, is a far better way of doing things, because people become self-sufficient and they're able to control their own lives. But however, if you look at it more holistically, sometimes people need that fish. They need that what's called short-term aid. They may have been victims of a natural disaster, and so therefore you don't want to help them rebuild their lives yet. First of all, they need things like food and water and shelter and medicines, and those kind of things are what's called short-term aid. And that's the real give a man a fish kind of thing. The people sometimes need that. And then also there may be the long-term aid, give him man the means to fish, and that's where people try to help each other to regrow their lives and to actually bring themselves to be proud and self-sufficient. And Christian Aid help people in less economically developed countries in those two ways. Now, you may well have heard of Christian Aid, as every May they have a collection where an envelope is placed through every door in the United Kingdom, and people then go and collect those envelopes and hope that they have some money put in them. Now, they started in 1945 in response to the refugee crisis after the Second World War, and they quickly started to spread. In the 1960s they gave both emergency and long-term aid and really started to call themselves Christian Aid. From 2012 they have focused on ending poverty and generating global justice by helping those exploited and disadvantaged in different countries. Now we're going to look at an actual case study of one particular thing that they do in a second. But what they really do is they support many people across the world, whatever their race or religion. And most of the money that they get comes from the envelope campaign. However, they also get money from governments and institutions, but mostly it's to do with the individuals, where they can actually really help people because of the generosity of normal people in the United Kingdom. Now, to ensure global justice, Christian Aid focuses on 5 areas. Now, those 5 areas are to give ordinary people political power. That's number 1. Number 2, assuring essential services such as water and sanitation for everyone. Real short-term aid there. Number 3, seeking a fair and sustainable share of the world's resources for all, so that everybody is treated equally and with justice. Number 4, eliminating discrimination in any form and ensuring equality of treatment for all. And number 5, tackling violence and building reconciliation and peace. One example of what they do is helping victims of natural disasters, and here we see a particular one in Burma, in Myanmar. Now, Burma, because of where it is, have many natural disasters due to their geographical position. And really, because of that, because of the water supply and everything, malaria, which is carried by mosquitoes, is a major problem, with 7% of children under 5 dying from the disease. Now, what Christian Aid do is they train healthcare workers and distribute insecticide and treat mosquito bites, and really, well, more importantly, they give mosquito nets to help prevent the actual mosquito from biting in the first place. I'd like you to watch this video that explains the work of Christian Aid in Burma.
Myanmar's been through 3 or 4 decades of conflict. Our program is working with the people who are most affected by that conflict. They tend to be from the ethnic minorities on the eastern side of the country, and many of them have lost their land, their assets, and really their lives have been turned upside down. We work with 12 local organisations to help them rebuild their lives. We focus on building livelihoods through developing skills such as pig rearing or poultry farming. We're also helping them access quality healthcare. We train up village health committees who support traditional birth attendants and village health volunteers. That means that mothers who are expecting babies get referred to hospital when needed, when there are complications, so that everyone in the community gets access to safe drinking water, sanitation, first aid, protection from malaria, and also protection from HIV, which is endemic in this part of Myanmar. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is make sure that everyone has a say in their future. Christian Aid has been working here for 25 years, and Myanmar's entered a new chapter in its development. The government is bringing in a whole series of reforms and really trying to engage with all stakeholders. Christian Aid is here, and we're going to be doing a lot with all the stakeholders in the future to make sure these people have an opportunity to rebuild their lives.
Okay, another thing that they actually try to do, Christian Aid, is support fair trade across the world. Now, fair trade is a real long-term way of helping people, because what it does is it actually gives farmers the opportunity to get a fair price for what it is that they actually produce. So again, here, that would be a real something that they could look at the parable of the sheep and the goats. I was hungry and you fed me, I was a stranger and you welcomed me, I was thirsty and you gave me a drink, and really help people to actually break that particular cycle and actually get on their own 2 feet with long-term benefits for everybody. So fair trade, if you ever get to see this particular mark, is a great way of helping people, not just because of them being being a Christian organisation, but helping people get a fair price for the goods that they produce across the world. Here's a short little video that explains to you what fair trade is all about.
A supermarket. Here we buy almost everything we need in our day-to-day lives. Our decisions on what to buy are based on taste, quality, and price. But what you might not know is that the decisions we make can have a significant impact. Fair trade products vastly improve the working and living conditions of families in developing countries. But how does fair trade even work? Let's take this pack of coffee as an example. Coffee is one of the most important agricultural products on the global market. And it goes on a long journey before it ends up on our store shelves. For the over 30 million coffee farmers around the world, the coffee we buy means a lot of hard work. At the same time, they earn very little money from it. This is due to speculation in financial markets and little to no influence on the pricing of the product, as well as unstable yields caused by changes in temperature and climate. Coffee farmers are powerless in the face of the free market. Fair trade seeks to change that. Fair trade coffee farmers don't work alone. They are members of cooperatives and organized democratically. There are many advantages to this system. The farmers know the true value of their product, which makes it far easier for them to negotiate prices. They have access to credit and are able to learn from each other through a constant exchange of information. A central component of the fair trade system is the minimum price, which is the minimum that farmers' organizations are paid when selling their products through fair trade. Additionally, producer organizations receive the fair trade premium. It is up to the farmers and workers to decide how to use the premium. They might build wells and hospitals, buy better farming equipment, or invest in switching to organic farming. Having a stable income can drastically improve a whole family's opportunities. At the same time, it minimizes the risk of exploitative child labor. The environment benefits from fair trade too. Preserving natural habitats and the climate are key aspects of fair trade. The use of genetically modified organisms is forbidden, and water is used as sparingly as possible. The fair trade standards are the requirements that producers and the businesses who buy their goods have to follow. They are developed by Fair Trade International in consultation with producers, businesses, and all members of the fair trade system. Fair trade producers have a 50% say in all key decisions made. Our independent certification body, FlowCert, checks and monitors that the fair trade standards are being met. Now, back to our pack of coffee. After being harvested and dried, the beans are transported to processors, who roast, prepare, and repackage the coffee for sale. Coffee is the most well-known fair trade product. However, there is a huge range of fair trade products available, from bananas, ice cream, rice, cocoa, sugar, herbs, honey, dried fruits and nuts, to fruit juices, tea and wine. Even flowers, cotton, and sports balls can be fair trade certified. There are over 30,000 fair trade products on sale in more than 125 countries worldwide, in supermarkets, cafes, restaurants, and even trains and planes. So now, it's over to you. In your daily shopping, look for the fair trade mark and choose products that change lives for over 1.5 million farmers and workers worldwide. Fair trade. The power is in your hands.